Today we're talking about the Japanese secret to calm, stress-free living. And I want to welcome you back to the Ageless Golden Year channel as we gently explore why a peaceful mind is one of the greatest longevity tools we have. When we look at the world today, we see constant stimulation, notifications, schedules, responsibilities. And yet some of the most powerful practices for tranquility come from the quietest places. As someone who grew up in Japan and spent decades studying longevity, I've seen how simple, culturally rooted habits can profoundly influence stress, inflammation, and healthy aging. So today, let's take a slow walk through these ideas together, almost like strolling through a peaceful Japanese garden, allowing each thought to settle gently. When I think about calm living, the first memory that comes to mind is of my grandmother in Kyoto. She lived in a tiny wooden home with sliding paper doors, and every morning, before doing anything else, she would open the back door and simply sit with her tea. No phone, no television, just the sound of wind chimes and the soft fragrance of roasted green tea drifting through the air. As a child, I would wonder, why does she sit so long? Isn't she bored? But as I grew older, I realized that she was practicing a form of presence that modern science now recognizes as protective against stress hormones, cardiovascular strain, and cognitive decline. She was teaching me, without ever saying it aloud, that calm is something we cultivate, not something that arrives by accident. And this is where many of us today find ourselves confused. We imagine that stress comes from the outside, work, relationships, finances, health issues. But in Japan, there is a saying, Kokoro no odayakasa wa jibun de tsukuru. The peaceful heart is something you build yourself. It's like tending a small bonsai tree. You can't control the sun or the rain or the wind, but you can shape the branches gently every day. Now, many of my patients over the years have come into my office believing that a stress-free life means eliminating all sources of difficulty. They say things like, Dr. Kenji, if only my family were less demanding, or if only my job slowed down, or if only I lived somewhere quieter. But the truth is, even in the calmest countryside in Japan, people still have worries. The difference is not the absence of stressors. It is the presence of grounding rituals and philosophical lenses that help anchor the mind. One of the biggest misconceptions is that calm living requires a dramatic life overhaul. People think they must meditate for an hour a day, or move to a mountain village, or become some sort of monk. But the Japanese secret to calm is often found in ordinary moments. It's the soft structure of daily habits, the quiet appreciation for small beauty, and the subtle discipline of doing one thing at a time. Western culture often values speed and multitasking. In Japan, we value rhythm, intentionality, and harmony. Let me share a story. Years ago, I treated a retired school principal named Mr. Okamoto. He had worked tirelessly for decades, managing schedules, teachers, students, and constant expectations. When he reached his late 60s, he experienced chronic neck tension, insomnia, and elevated blood pressure, classic signs of stress accumulation. In one of our conversations, he told me, "I've always thought that rest is something you earn at the end. But now I realize rest is something you must weave into the fabric of the day." I guided him toward the practice of Ichigyo-ichi-e, a concept rooted in the tea ceremony. It means one time, one moment, the idea that every encounter, every breath, every minute is unique and will never come again. When he learned to treat even simple daily tasks as moments worthy of his full presence, washing dishes, watering plants, talking to his wife, he experienced a transformation. His stress markers improved, his sleep deepened, and he regained a sense of inner quiet that medication alone could never have given him. Modern neuroscience supports this. When you engage fully with one task, your prefrontal cortex gains clarity, your cortisol levels decrease, and your nervous system shifts away from the fight-or-flight response. It's incredible how something so simple, just being where you are, can regulate the body's most powerful stress pathways. Another essential element of calm Japanese living is the strength of environment. In Japan, we believe the space around us influences the space within us. Have you ever noticed how a cluttered room seems to produce a cluttered mind? In Japanese homes, especially traditional ones, minimalism is not a trend. It's a psychological support system. When I walk into a home filled with too many objects, noise, and visual stimuli, I can almost feel the person's nervous system working harder. One of my patients, a lovely grandmother in her 70s named Mrs. Yamazaki, used to say, "When I clear my table, I clear my heart." She wasn't talking about aesthetics. She meant that simplicity reduces the brain's workload. Every object you see is something your brain must process. Removing unnecessary items gives your mind space to breathe, and as we age, this becomes even more important. Cognitive load, overstimulation, and mental clutter contribute to stress, memory issues, and even inflammatory pathways. This is why Japanese design emphasizes emptiness, not as a void, but as a form of quiet fullness. We call it mei, the space between things. Think of ma like a pause in music. Without pauses, music becomes noise. In the same way, without intentional spaces and breaks, life becomes overwhelming. Another powerful Japanese principle is shizen, or naturalness. In our culture, we are taught to live in harmony with the rhythms of nature. And this doesn't mean doing anything extravagant. It can be as simple as stepping outside for 5 minutes in the morning light, listening to the rain, or observing a tree change through the seasons. Nature regulates stress in ways we barely understand. When you stand near trees, when you breathe forest air, your body absorbs phytoncides, natural chemicals released by plants, that reduce inflammation and strengthen immunity. This is the basis of Shinrin-Yoku, or forest bathing, a Japanese longevity practice now supported by scientific evidence. I often encourage seniors to take short, mindful walks outside, not for exercise, but for sensory grounding. Feel your feet on the ground. Notice the sensation of air on your skin. Observe one small detail, maybe a leaf, or a bird, or a ray of sunlight. You will feel your nervous system begin to settle, as if nature itself is smoothing the wrinkles in your mind. Many elders in Okinawa, a region known for its longevity, instinctively practice these principles. They rise with the sun, tend their gardens, share meals with neighbors, and live in slow rhythms. They don't hurry, they don't overthink, they don't multitask. And this gentle pace reduces both psychological stress and inflammatory stress, which is crucial for aging well. Now, let's talk about breathing. Japanese culture places enormous value on the breath. My father taught me a practice called Tanden breathing when I was young. The Tanden is the energy center below your navel. When you breathe deeply into this area, you activate the parasympathetic nervous system. I've taught this technique to countless patients, especially those experiencing anxiety, insomnia, or chronic pain. It's simple, yet incredibly effective. Imagine your breath as a wave gently washing over the shore. As you inhale, the wave rises. As you exhale, it retreats. Many people take shallow breaths from the chest, which keeps the body in a state of tension. But deep abdominal breathing signals safety to the brain. It slows the heart rate, lowers cortisol, and increases heart rate variability, a marker of resilience and longevity. One of my patients, a businessman named Mr. Hirano, used to tell me, "Dr. Kenji, I finally understand why people in your country seem so calm. You breathe differently." We laughed together, but he wasn't wrong. When you breathe slowly and fully, the world seems gentler, simply because you are calmer inside. Another secret to stress-free living in Japan is the power of small, consistent rituals. We call them kata, structured patterns that bring stability to daily life. These rituals act as anchors, keeping the mind steady even when life feels chaotic. It might be brewing tea in a certain way, organizing your shoes neatly by the door, wiping the kitchen surface each evening, or lighting a small candle before bedtime. These repeated practices create rhythm, and rhythm creates calm. When I lived in Tokyo for my residency, my days were extremely busy. Hospitals and urban centers can be overwhelming. The fluorescent lights, the constant movement, the responsibility to stay centered. I created my own ritual. Every night, no matter how late, I brewed a single cup of roasted barley tea and sat by the window for 5 minutes. That was my sanctuary, my small moment of grounding. It allowed my mind to reset before sleep. Sometimes the key to calm is not how much you do, but how regularly you do it. Rituals give the brain something predictable to look forward to, and predictability is a balm for the nervous system. Food also plays a role in calm, stress-free living. Many traditional Japanese foods naturally support the gut, which influences mood and stress response. Fermented foods like miso, natto, tsukemono pickles, and shoyu koji help nourish gut bacteria. A healthy gut communicates safety to the brain. It reduces inflammatory cytokines that can trigger anxiety and mental fog. That is why many Japanese elders say, "The stomach is the center of health." When your digestion is calm, your mind often becomes calm as well. But beyond the nutrients, meals in Japan are typically eaten slowly. Chewing is seen as a form of respect for the food and the farmers who produced it. When you chew slowly, your body shifts into a relaxed state, improving digestion and lowering stress. I once worked with an elderly fisherman in Hokkaido who told me, "If you eat too fast, your soul cannot catch up." It's a poetic way of saying that rushing through meals disconnects you from your body's rhythm. Another essential component of Japanese calm is community connection. In Japan, especially among older generations, people maintain close ties with neighbors, friends, and local groups. Loneliness can heighten stress significantly, especially in seniors. I often remind my patients that calm does not only come from solitude, it also comes from shared warmth. A conversation with a friend, a shared pot of tea, a greeting from a neighbor. These gentle human interactions reduce cortisol and increase feelings of safety. In Okinawa, elders gather daily in informal groups called moai, which means meeting for a common purpose. These groups provide social support, shared resources, emotional grounding, and a sense of belonging. The calmness you feel when someone truly listens to you, or when you laugh with others, is a powerful medicine. Now, of course, no discussion of Japanese calm would be complete without addressing wabi-sabi, the art of appreciating imperfection. This philosophy teaches that life is always changing, aging, and evolving, and that beauty lies not in perfection, but in authenticity. Many people become stressed because they try to control everything and avoid all mistakes. But in Japan, we admire the crack in a tea bowl, the weathered texture of wood, the unevenness of a handwritten character. Imperfections remind us that life is natural, and nature is never perfect. I've seen many seniors find profound peace when they embrace wabi-sabi in their own lives. The wrinkles on their faces become stories. The changes in their physical abilities become markers of experience. The ups and downs in their families become part of the fabric of their journey. When you stop resisting imperfections, stress begins to loosen its grip. Now let's talk about gentle movement, another pillar of Japanese calm. Practices like radio taiso, slow walking, or light stretching support the nervous system far more than people realize. Movement increases lymphatic flow, reduces chronic inflammation, and improves mental clarity. But what makes Japanese movement unique is the softness. It's not about intensity or burning calories. It's about reconnecting with the body. Every morning in my childhood neighborhood, elders would gather at the local park for radio taiso, a simple routine broadcast nationwide. These movements take only a few minutes but create a grounding rhythm for the day. Even now, when I feel overwhelmed, I pause and move my shoulders, gently rotate my wrists, or stretch my back the way those elders did. The body remembers calm, and sometimes we must invite the mind to follow. I also want to mention something overlooked: the power of slowing down transitions. In Japan, we teach children not to leap from one activity to another. We allow moments to shift naturally, like the slow dimming of light at sunset. Many people experience stress because they rush through every transition, finishing work and immediately starting chores, or jumping from a phone call into cooking, or waking up and checking notifications instantly. These abrupt mental shifts strain the nervous system. One of the best practices I teach seniors is the one-breath pause. Before moving to the next activity, take one slow breath. Just one. That tiny pause signals to your brain that life is not an emergency. And over time, these small pauses accumulate into a calmer mind. Of course, living calmly does not mean avoiding all challenges. Life in Japan is not without difficulties, financial pressure, urban noise, family expectations, but the cultural frameworks help people face challenges with steadiness. It's like bamboo, flexible enough to bend with the wind, strong enough not to break. Now I want to talk about something that often surprises people. Calm living does not always mean quiet living. Many Japanese families live in small homes, close together, with the sounds of neighbors nearby. Yet stress levels remain lower than in many parts of the world because calm comes from the inside. It's shaped by habits, philosophies, and inner practices. And for seniors especially, these practices can reduce inflammation, protect the heart, enhance memory, and increase longevity. Chronic stress is one of the most significant contributors to aging. So when we learn to calm the mind, we are also calming the body's internal storms. Before we continue, if you find these insights helpful, I gently invite you to like this video and subscribe to the Ageless Golden Year channel. It helps this community grow, and I appreciate your support. Now, let's explore one more principle: acceptance. In Japanese culture, we use the word shikata ga nai, which means it cannot be helped. This is not a resignation or passive surrender. It is a graceful acknowledgement of what we cannot control, allowing us to focus our energy on what we can influence. Many of my patients have regained peace by embracing this mindset. Instead of fighting every challenge, they learn to flow around obstacles, like water finding a new path around a rock. Acceptance doesn't mean giving up. It means conserving emotional energy, reducing frustration, and building inner resilience. When you stop wrestling with life, life becomes gentler. Now, let's talk about practical strategies that weave everything together. To live calmly in a Japanese way, you can begin with small things. Wake slowly without rushing. Drink something warm in the morning, preferably tea. Create one small ritual that signals peace. Take short outdoor pauses. Eat your meals with presence. Declutter one small area. Move gently. Pause between activities. Breathe deeply into your abdomen. Connect with someone you care about. Appreciate something imperfect. These habits seem simple, but their compound effect is profound. When I teach these to seniors, they often say, "Dr. Kenji, I feel like I finally have space inside my mind." And that space is where calmness grows. Before we close, let me share one more story. A woman in her early 80s, Mrs. Takahashi, once told me that after her husband passed away, she felt overwhelmed by loneliness and grief. What helped her heal was not distraction, but simple presence. Every morning, she would sit with her tea and say, "Today I will do one thing slowly." Some days it was folding laundry. Some days it was watering her plants. Some days it was writing a short letter. Slowly, her heart softened, her breathing deepened, and she found peace again, not because life became easier, but because she allowed herself to live gently. And that, I believe, is the core of Japanese stress-free living, not perfection, not avoidance, not control, but gentleness toward life, toward others, and toward oneself. As we age, calmness becomes not just a comfort, but a necessity. It protects the heart, the brain, and the spirit. And you deserve that. You deserve a life that feels spacious, meaningful, and grounded. Thank you for spending this time with me today. If you felt something resonate, I invite you once more to subscribe to Ageless Golden Year so we can continue exploring these beautiful longevity secrets together. May your days be peaceful, your mind steady, and your heart open. I look forward to our next conversation.